It was approximately 5:30 p.m. when my son Jack asked if I could hook up my old DVD player in the living room. I had once had the DVD player hooked up onto the television, but one day about a month ago, my son had gotten a TV for his own installed in his room. So I had hooked the old DVD player from the living room television and replaced it with our brand new PS4. But his TV mysteriously fizzled out, which is why you shouldn't buy a TV on Craigslist for $26. And so he asked me to watch SpongeBob on the living room TV. I agreed, and after I sent the other television to the scrapyard, I hooked the DVD player to the main TV and inserted SpongeBob Season 7 Disc 1. My son wanted to watch his favorite episode, The Curse of Bikini Bottom, but when the disc had finished loading, something strange happened. The Nickelodeon logo appeared, except it was all grainy and was jet black. The background was a dull blood red. Then, near the very end of the logo, the background became pitch black, and the only clue to the logo's existence was a blood red highlight. I explained to my son that it was probably just a DVD being misread, but I wasn't completely sure. Then the normal FBI warning came up, but the letters were black and the background was nothing but a dark red. There was no grain, however. After that, the DVD menu appeared like normal. I breathed a huge sigh of relief, thinking everything would go back to normal from on. Sadly, with all the stories that I've heard about, I had not learned my lesson. Before I could start eating my pre-dinner snack, Jack told me to see something odd. I ran into the room fearing the worst, and sure enough, the scene selection had changed. The thumbnail for the very last episode, Squidward in Clarinet Land, was not like how it should be. Instead of SpongeBob's hand holding a clarinet, it was a blood-red Squidward with a look on his face that appeared either angry or scared. I asked my son if I could see the episode with him to see if anything had changed. Luckily for me, though, my worst fears weren't realized just yet. Sadly, this episode was not what I was hoping for. The title card was extremely malformed. The normal words and the mirrored words were both stretched and overlapped each other. So instead of saying Squidward in Clarinet Land, it honestly said, all of it in backwards, which, in case you were wondering, was where I got the title for this story. The opening credits were not malformed as a title card, but instead the words were completely white, making them very hard to make out, and the rocks in the background were replaced with pits of green fire. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a screenshot of it in time because there was only one line of text that lasted for about a second. The text was messed up, so I couldn't quite make it out what it said, but there were two words, and the first one looked like fun, which made me think of Paul Tibbet for some odd reason, although it kind of looked like it. The episode started out mostly normal, except the motion was all blurry. It started out with Squidward in a good mood as he rides his bike to the Krusty Krab. The fish in the boat already appears ahead of him and speeds off, causing pebbles to fly into his face. Squidward just ignores the pebbles and continues to ride over to the Krusty Krab happily. When he gets to the Krusty Krab and puts on his hat, Mr. Krab rushes up to him and remarks on how happy he is. He explains that his clarinet recital later, and that nothing could dampen his mood. He even holds up his clarinet case for the crabs to see. He walks up to the post, and soon a fish with bad breath walks up to him. There's drool on the fish's chin as he asks for a Krabby Patty. The fumes wax Squidward in a comedic manner, only it harasses him more than in the normal episode. Finally, it delivers one final blow and vanishes. Squidward's smile is now a little less meaningful, but he still looks like he's in a good mood. He tells SpongeBob to cook up a Krabby Patty and then turns back to the customer. The customer thanks him and leaves. Squidward says, nothing can ruin my happy mood today." He holds his clarinet case, but soon the next customer's baby squirts milk all over the case. The customer says, "Oh, I'm so terribly sorry, sir." Squidward, however, is not angry. He explains that there's not a drop of anything on his clarinet, and makes the mistake of opening the case for the customer to see. The baby leans over the clarinet, and a drop of drool falls onto the clarinet. Squidward's smile instantly vanishes and is replaced with a frown. He has a very angry look, and the screen turns blood red. I'm thinking to myself, oh god, must be where things get bad. And sure enough, the screen zooms in quickly to Squidward's face as he shouts, "I can't take it anymore." Once the color is normal, He walks over to Mr. Krabs and does and says all the stuff that normally happens in the episode, yada yada yada, up to the point where Mr. Krabs gets Squidward a locker. There's an extremely grotesque shot of a bloated, rotting corpse in the locker. I would have gotten a snapshot except for the following reasons. One, it was enough to make the most avid person fan puke, and I was too busy making sure my son didn't watch it. When the corpse finally got dumped out from behind the locker, Squidward remarked on how filthy the locker truly was. Immediately, SpongeBob began cleaning it. However, everything that wasn't yellowish enough was black and white. In other words, the only thing in color was SpongeBob and the floor. Then something both relieving and awful happened. The DVD player just stopped, and then sat up an error screen. I thought my DVD player had burned out, but luckily it was only turned off. When I turned the DVD back on, everything was as it should be. So I let my son watch The Curse of Bikini Bottom and then left. And that was all for now. I'll make sure to report soon. December 6th, 2017. Sorry I hadn't edited the article for quite a while. Let's just say I've been very disconnected recently. Anyway, I regret to inform you that I have no more screenshots to show, but I do have a little more to tell of the story to tell. Just last week, I was watching a YouTube poop called Zoditopia, don't ask, when halfway through part 2 the screen froze up, except the cursor. I frantically clicked Ctrl-Alt-Delete repeatedly, but nothing happened. But as my finger hit the spacebar, suddenly the screen whirled around in a flash of color and a deep voice screamed, The words themselves were actually backwards, but I could easily tell what it was. The screen stopped whirling around. I saw the same image of SpongeBob cleaning from before, only this time he wasn't squirting out water. This time, the yellow and red showed up, revealing the liquid to be blood. Also, the sequence went on in a continuous loop. The 7th time the loop played over, I heard something that sounded like SpongeBob's laugh from a distance. Then, the 12th time the loop went over, there was a laughing that sounded closer, only this time it was a man's deep voice. The 19th time, the loop finally ended, and when it did, a hideous face showed up on the screen for a split second. The horror of that face was too much to describe, and no, I'm not just exaggerating. Then the episode cut, without transitioning, to Squidward happily giving a customer change. A drilling noise came from the kitchen, causing Squidward to mumble angrily to himself, "That sponge better not be messing with my clarinet." I noticed that he had uttered part of the name. However, I didn't know if it was reversed or not. He threw the change into the ground and went into the kitchen, and some people noticed. Suddenly, everybody dove for the loose change, and this is where something really disturbing happened. Krabs charged at the people like an angry ape protecting his territory. Well, this was an angry ape protecting his money, but one fish didn't leave. Suddenly, the background colors inverted and almost seemed like the background was melting. Krabs' eyes became black as coal and he lunged for the fish. Suddenly, everything in the world was warped except for Krabs and his victim. He then grabbed the fish's throat and started torturing him. He slammed the fish's head on the floor in a disgustingly realistic and gruesome way. Soon blood squirted from his head like a volcano or a geyser, and now the fish was screaming and crying and begging for mercy. But Krabs, instead of showing mercy, violently jerked the fish up to his face and whispered in a deep, twisted voice, "You messed with the devil, now you mess with me." I turned around and wound up throwing up in the garbage bin after what he did to the customer. Suddenly my computer went dead. I tried to turn it on, but it wouldn't turn on. I took out the hard drive and it had been snapped in half and horribly burnt. I looked at nothing else more but 2 pieces of charcoal now. 2 days ago I got a new hard drive for my computer and mostly forgot that day until a week ago. And here I am now, typing up my experience, telling you all my story about what had happened with that DVD. Yes, I still have it. No, I didn't really bother doing too much else with it. I think I've already kind of went down the rabbit hole enough. I'd rather not go in any deeper. I didn't bother contacting anybody, not like it was necessary. I didn't really bother doing any of that, and I just continued on with my life. That's pretty much all I did for then. So I guess that's it. I guess that's my story. Hope you all enjoyed it, because honestly, I sure as hell didn't. Hello there, my little shadows. It's me again, your master, the Shadow Reader. I hope you all enjoyed this little tale of horror. I honestly hope I didn't traumatize you too much after this. If you're new here and want to become one of my little shadows, then hit that subscribe button down below, and also make sure to turn on post notifications so that you can be the first to watch my brand new content when it comes out. Until then, sweet dreams, my little shadows.